Have you ever wondered if there exists a technique so powerful, so transformative that certain forces would do anything to keep it hidden from the masses? What if I told you that today, right now, you're about to discover a method that has been deliberately concealed from public knowledge? A method that could completely revolutionize how you experience reality itself. This isn't fiction. This is the story of a discovery that threatens the very foundations of what we consider normal existence. Throughout human history, there have been countless stories of secret knowledge, ancient wisdom that grants extraordinary abilities to those who master it. Most dismiss these tales as myths or exaggerations. But what if some of these secrets were real? What if there existed genuine techniques that could unlock dormant human potential? Techniques that would make the powerful uncomfortable if widely known. The technique you're about to discover has remained in the shadows, not because it doesn't work, but precisely because it works too well. The world as you know it is built on certain assumptions, that reality is fixed, that your consciousness is limited to your physical body, that your thoughts have minimal impact on the world around you. These assumptions aren't just casual beliefs. They're the pillars that maintain the current power structures. When people remain unaware of their true capabilities, they're easier to control, easier to predict, easier to keep within boundaries that serve others. This hidden technique challenges all of that by revealing the malleable nature of what we call reality. What makes this technique particularly dangerous to the status quo is its simplicity. It doesn't require special equipment. It doesn't demand years of study at exclusive institutions. It doesn't ask you to follow a spiritual leader or join an organization. All it requires is your focused intention and consistent practice. A democratization of power that threatens hierarchies built on the idea that only special, chosen few can access higher states of consciousness. By the end of this narrative, you'll understand not only how to apply this technique, but why its widespread adoption would fundamentally transform human society as we know it. December 1994. A date that means nothing to most people but marks a pivotal moment in this story. Professor Jacob Grinberg, a brilliant researcher who had spent decades bridging the gap between quantum physics and consciousness studies, was scheduled to deliver the keynote address at an international conference on consciousness exploration. His presentation, titled "The Synergistic Field: Accessing Universal Consciousness Through Practical Application," promised to reveal a comprehensive technique that anyone could use to directly access what he called the cosmic consciousness network. The night before his presentation, Grinberg vanished without a trace. His hotel room showed no signs of struggle. His research materials, notebooks, computer, presentation materials, all disappeared with him. The official investigation concluded that he had simply left of his own accord, perhaps suffering from mental health issues or pressure from his controversial work. But those who knew Grinberg rejected this explanation entirely. A man devoted to sharing knowledge, passionate about human potential, would never abandon his life's work at its culmination. Something, or someone, had intervened to prevent his revelation from reaching the public. In the days following his disappearance, strange things began happening to Grinberg's closest colleagues. Their research funding was mysteriously cut. Their academic reputations came under attack. Several reported break-ins where nothing valuable was taken, except their research notes related to Grinberg's work. One by one, those connected to his research either distanced themselves from it or found themselves unable to continue along similar lines of inquiry. It was as if an invisible hand was systematically erasing not just Grinberg, but the very ideas he had been developing. What makes this story particularly compelling is that Grinberg had anticipated this possibility. Months before his scheduled revelation, he had secretly distributed fragments of his technique to trusted individuals across the globe. People unconnected to his professional life. People unlikely to draw attention. He created a failsafe, ensuring that even if he couldn't deliver his message personally, pieces of it would survive, eventually coming together like a puzzle that could be reconstructed. What you're reading now is the result of that reconstruction. Knowledge that powerful interests never wanted you to have. presented in its complete form perhaps for the first time since Greenfield's disappearance. What exactly was Greenfield's groundbreaking discovery? At its core was the concept of what he called the synergistic field, a network of energy and consciousness that connects every particle, every being, and every thought in the universe. This isn't merely a theoretical construct. It's a fundamental aspect of reality that scientists have glimpsed through quantum entanglement, spiritual teachers have described as cosmic oneness, and indigenous wisdom keepers have worked with for millennia. Greenfield's unique contribution was developing a practical, repeatable method for accessing this field directly, turning an abstract concept into an applicable technique. Traditional science insists that your consciousness is merely a product of brain activity, contained within your skull and disconnected from the external world. Greenfield's research systematically dismantled this assumption. Through rigorous experiments combining advanced EEG measurements, quantum field detectors, and consciousness mapping protocols, he demonstrated that human awareness extends far beyond the physical body. In certain states, the electrical patterns of the brain begin to synchronize with environmental electromagnetic fields, creating what he termed consciousness bridges that connect individual awareness to the broader universal field of information and energy. The implications of this discovery are staggering. If consciousness isn't contained by the physical body but can extend into and interact with a universal field, then the potential for awareness, healing, manifestation, and even influence over physical reality expands exponentially. Greenfield's technique essentially creates a direct line of communication between your individual mind and the cosmic database of all possibilities. It's like upgrading from a dial-up internet connection to having the entire internet hardwired directly into your brain, a quantum leap in your ability to access information, energy, and potentiality. What sets Greenfield's approach apart from traditional meditation or visualization practices is its precision and reliability. Rather than vague instructions to clear your mind or visualize your desires, his technique follows a specific neurological pathway, activating particular brain regions in a precise sequence that creates a measurable shift in consciousness. The method isn't based on faith or belief, but on working with your brain's natural capacity to enter specific states that facilitate connection with the synergistic field. Don't miss out on the transformative knowledge continuing below. If you've found value in this revelation so far, subscribe to our channel now and type "awakened" in the comments to join the community of those who refuse to live within artificial limitations. Before revealing the specific steps of this technique, we must first understand the barriers that prevent most people from accessing the synergistic field naturally. Your mind has been systematically programmed to reject the very possibility of expanded consciousness. This programming isn't accidental. It's the result of educational systems, media messaging, and cultural norms that continuously reinforce a materialistic worldview where consciousness is nothing more than brain chemistry and human potential is strictly limited. The first barrier is what Greenfield called reality rigidity, the deep-seated belief that reality is fixed, objective, and operates according to unchangeable laws. This belief creates a mental fortress that prevents you from experiencing the malleability of existence. Every time you encounter something that doesn't fit your understanding of reality, your mind automatically rejects it, rationalizes it away, or simply fails to perceive it altogether. This isn't a conscious choice. It's an automatic filtering mechanism operating below the level of awareness. Breaking through reality rigidity requires a systematic approach that gradually loosens these mental constraints. The second barrier is sensory dominance, the overwhelming tendency to trust only information received through your physical senses. From early childhood, you've been taught that what you can see, hear, touch, taste, and smell constitutes reality, while internal experiences like intuition, inspiration, and non-physical perception are just imagination. This hierarchical ordering of perception channels severely limits your ability to receive information from the synergistic field, which often communicates through channels beyond the 5 physical senses. Greenfield discovered that by temporarily shifting attention away from sensory input, these alternative perception channels naturally strengthen and open. The third and perhaps most insidious barrier is consensus hypnosis, the collective agreement about what is and isn't possible that exerts tremendous pressure on individual perception. When everyone around you subscribes to certain limitations, challenging those limitations requires extraordinary mental independence. Even when faced with direct experience that contradicts the consensus view, most people will doubt their own perception rather than question collective beliefs. Greenfield's technique includes specific elements designed to temporarily suspend these consensus limitations, creating a window of possibility through which expanded awareness can emerge. The technique you're about to learn requires proper preparation. Just as an athlete wouldn't attempt an Olympic performance without warming up, you shouldn't approach this consciousness-expanding practice without preparing your mind and environment. This preparation isn't merely physical, it's creating the optimal conditions for a profound shift in your perception and being. First, create a space where you won't be disturbed. This doesn't mean you need a special room dedicated to practice, though that would be ideal. Any space can be temporarily transformed through your intention and a few simple adjustments. Eliminate possible interruptions by turning off phone notifications and letting others know you need privacy. The physical environment should be comfortable, but not so comfortable that you'll fall asleep. Sitting upright with your spine straight allows energy to flow freely while maintaining alertness. Some practitioners find that natural elements, a small plant, a stone, or flowing water, help facilitate connection with the broader field of consciousness. Your mental preparation begins hours before the actual practice. Throughout the day, periodically remind yourself that reality is more fluid than it appears. Notice the spaces between your thoughts. Observe how your perception changes based on your emotional state. Question your assumptions about simple everyday experiences. These small mental exercises begin loosening the rigid boundaries of conventional perception, making it easier to access expanded states during formal practice. Avoid heavy meals, excessive stimulation, or emotionally charged activities immediately before practice, as these create mental and energetic static that interferes with clear connection. Perhaps most importantly, approach this practice with a balance of skepticism and openness. Rigid belief and blind faith are equally unhelpful. Instead, adopt what Greenfield called the experimental mindset, a willingness to fully engage with the process while maintaining careful observation of your experience. Don't judge your results based on preconceptions about what should happen. Instead, pay close attention to what actually occurs, however subtle it might be initially. Remember that you're developing a new perceptual ability, similar to learning a language or musical instrument. Progress comes through consistent practice rather than overnight transformation. The doorway to the synergistic field begins with breath. Not ordinary breathing, but a specific pattern that Greenfield discovered creates measurable changes in brain activity and electromagnetic field generation. This breathing technique serves as the foundation for everything that follows, creating the precise neurological state necessary for expanded perception to emerge naturally. Begin with what Greenfield called triangular breathing, a pattern where your inhalation, hold, and exhalation form equal sides of a triangle in time. Inhale slowly through your nose for a count of 4, feeling the air fill first your lower abdomen, then mid-chest, then upper chest in one continuous motion. Hold this breath for another count of 4, allowing the oxygen to fully saturate your bloodstream and brain. Then exhale through slightly parted lips for a count of 4, releasing the breath in the reverse sequence: upper chest, mid-chest, lower abdomen. The rhythm should feel natural rather than forced, so adjust the count if necessary, while maintaining the equal proportion between phases. After several minutes of triangular breathing, your brain naturally begins shifting from beta waves, normal, waking consciousness, toward alpha, relaxed awareness, and then theta, the threshold of expanded consciousness. You'll likely notice a subtle but distinct sensation as this shift occurs. Many describe it as a slight pressure at the forehead or crown, a gentle tingling throughout the body, or a sensation of expanded space within and around them. This is a clear indication that you're establishing the neurological foundation necessary for connecting with the synergistic field. The next phase involves what Greenfield called field resonance breathing, a subtle adjustment where you imagine that your breath extends beyond your physical body. As you inhale, visualize drawing in not just air, but universal energy that extends infinitely in all directions. As you hold the breath, sense this energy circulating throughout your entire system, not just your physical body, but your energetic field extending several feet in all directions. As you exhale, feel your consciousness expanding outward, carried by the breath beyond the boundaries of your physical form. This isn't merely visualization. Greenfield's research demonstrated measurable changes in the electromagnetic field, surrounding practitioners as they engaged in this breathing pattern. With the breathing foundation established, you're ready to begin systematically dissolving the perceptual boundaries that separate your individual consciousness from the universal field. This process doesn't erase your individuality. Rather, it expands your awareness to include both individual and universal perspectives simultaneously, like gaining the ability to zoom from microscopic to macroscopic view at will. Begin by bringing attention to the sensations at the surface of your skin, the subtle boundary between what you typically consider you and not you. Notice the temperature, the subtle movements of air, the pressure where your body contacts surfaces. Rather than reinforcing this boundary as absolute, allow your awareness to soften it. Imagine your skin becoming progressively more permeable, more transparent to energy and awareness. Greenfield discovered that this simple shift in perception creates measurable changes in the electrical conductivity of the skin and the electromagnetic field generated by the body. Next, expand your awareness to include the space immediately surrounding your physical form, about arm's length in all directions. This is what energy researchers call the proximate energy field or personal aura. Don't strain to see this field visually, though that may happen spontaneously. Instead, sense its presence. Notice that this space isn't empty, but feels somehow substantial, responsive to your attention. As you maintain awareness of this field, it naturally begins to pulse and expand with your breath, growing more vibrant and extensive with each cycle of triangular breathing. Now comes the critical phase that Greenfield called field immersion. Rather than perceiving the universal energy field as something separate that you're trying to connect with, recognize that you are already completely immersed in this field, like a fish in water who has momentarily forgotten the water exists. Shift your perspective to recognize that the energy flowing through you with each breath is the same energy that constitutes everything in existence. There is no meaningful boundary between your energy and universal energy. They are continuous expressions of the same fundamental force. As this recognition deepens, you'll likely experience a profound shift in perception. Many describe it as a sensation of vastness, of boundaries dissolving, of being simultaneously everywhere and precisely here. What makes Greenfield's technique revolutionary isn't just the experience of expanded awareness, but the practical applications that become possible once you've established a clear connection with the synergistic field. This field isn't merely energy. It's what Greenfield described as a conscious intelligence, containing all information, all possibilities, all potential expressions of reality. Learning to communicate with this field intelligence opens doors to knowledge and capabilities that seem almost supernatural from a conventional perspective. The first step in this communication is establishing a clear question or intention. Unlike ordinary thinking, which often rambles associatively from one thought to another, field communication requires laser-like precision. Formulate your question or intention as clearly as possible, distilling it to its essential core. Greenfield discovered that the field responds most powerfully to questions that are specific yet open-ended, questions that seek understanding rather than just yes-no answers. For example, rather than asking, "Will I get the job?" you might ask, "What do I need to understand about this potential job opportunity?" Once your question or intention is clear, project it into the field not as words, but as a unified thought feeling, what Greenfield called a consciousness packet. Imagine this packet expanding from your center outward in all directions, like a sphere of energy containing your pure intention. Release any attachment to how the response might come or what it might contain. Greenfield's research showed that attachment and expectation create interference patterns that distort communication with the field. Instead, adopt an attitude of receptive neutrality, alert and attentive but not grasping. The response from the field often arrives in unexpected ways, as a sudden insight that feels different from your normal thoughts, as a series of meaningful coincidences in your external environment, as symbolic imagery during meditation, or as a wordless knowing that bubbles up from deep within. Greenfield emphasized the importance of developing what he called field literacy, learning to recognize and interpret these communications, which often speak in a language of pattern, symbol, and synchronicity, rather than linear logic. The more you practice, the more fluent you become in this universal language, and the more precisely you can work with the intelligence of the synergistic field. Once you've established reliable communication with the synergistic field, you're positioned to work with perhaps the most powerful application of Greenfield's technique, conscious manifestation through field interaction. Conventional manifestation. Teachings often fall short because they focus exclusively on thoughts and emotions without addressing the underlying energy mechanics through which thought influences physical reality. Greenfield's approach bridges this gap, providing a precise method for imprinting your intentions into the quantum fabric from which physical reality emerges. The manifestation process begins not with what you want, but with who you are. Greenfield discovered that the field responds not to surface desires, but to the fundamental frequency of your being, your core vibration that results from your deepest beliefs, values, and self-concept. Before attempting to manifest external conditions, you must first align your internal state with the essence of what you're seeking to create. This isn't about pretending or affirmations. It's about actually becoming, at an energetic level, a match for your desired manifestation. With your inner state aligned, you then engage what Greenfield called quantum imprinting, a process of projecting a clear template of your desired reality into the field. This isn't merely visualization, though that's part of it. It's a full spectrum, engagement of all your faculties, thought, emotion, sensation, energy, to create a complete holographic pattern that the field can use as a blueprint for physical manifestation. The more complete and coherent this pattern, the more quickly and precisely the field responds by reshaping probability toward your desired outcome. Critically, Greenfield emphasized that effective manifestation requires surrender as much as intention. After imprinting your desired reality into the field, you must release attachment to specific timelines and exact forms of manifestation. The field intelligence often delivers outcomes that fulfill the essence of your desire in ways you couldn't have anticipated, frequently better than your original conception. By maintaining clear intention while surrendering control over the specifics, you allow the infinitely intelligent field to orchestrate manifestation through optimal pathways, bringing your desires into reality with an elegance and perfection that linear planning could never achieve. As you continue working with Greenfield's technique, something remarkable begins happening. The distinction between practice time and regular life gradually dissolves. What begins as a formal meditation eventually becomes an integrated way of being in the world. This integration represents the ultimate goal of the technique, not occasional access to expanded states, but a permanent shift in how you perceive and interact with reality. The first sign of this integration is increased synchronicity in daily life, meaningful coincidences that happen with such frequency and precision that the mathematical probability of random occurrence becomes virtually zero. You ask a question, and the answer appears in a conversation overheard at a coffee shop. You need a specific resource, and someone unexpectedly offers it before you mention your need. You think of a person, and they contact you moments later. These aren't random events, but evidence of your growing resonance with the intelligent field that orchestrates the unfolding of reality. As your connection deepens, you begin recognizing patterns and meaning in events that others dismiss as chance. With continued practice, your perception undergoes a fundamental shift from separation to unity. You no longer experience yourself as an isolated entity moving through an objective world, but as a unique expression of the same conscious energy that constitutes everything around you. This isn't a philosophical concept, but a lived reality that transforms every interaction, every decision, every moment of your existence. Relationships become opportunities for recognizing yourself in others. Challenges become invitations to greater awareness. Joy becomes not just a personal emotion, but a direct experience of the field's creative exuberance, expressing through your unique form. Perhaps most importantly, working with the synergistic field technique gradually dissolves the artificial boundary between spiritual practice and practical effectiveness. You discover that expanded consciousness doesn't require retreating from the world, but enhances your capacity to engage with it meaningfully. Career, relationships, health, creative expression, all aspects of life are energized and elevated through field connection. You become more effective, more resilient, more innovative, and more aligned with your authentic purpose. This is the ultimate gift of Greenfield's work, not an escape from reality, but the ability to participate in it with full awareness of its true nature and limitless potential. The technique that Jacob Greenfield risked everything to share with humanity isn't just another self-improvement method. It's nothing less than a doorway to experiencing reality as it actually is: fluid, conscious, responsive to awareness, and infinitely more magnificent than our limited perceptions usually reveal. The power to access this expanded reality has always been your birthright. Now that you possess the key, the only question is, how will you use it?